This week we're looking at ethical leadership, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to discuss an article that I recently published on the breakdown of ethical leadership at Penn State University associated with the Jerry Sandusky scandal. You may be familiar with what happened at Penn State University. Jerry Sandusky, who was an assistant coach of the football team, sexually abused children for over a decade. And despite the fact that high-ranking leaders at Penn State University were aware of this, they did nothing to protect his victims, and ultimately he went on to victimize more children well after people in a position of power knew what he was doing. And ultimately the information did get out, and he was arrested and convicted, and there was serious consequences at Penn State University for good reasons. So in this article I state that I think there's three big reasons for this breakdown of ethical leadership. One is, I think that there was a case of groupthink occurring, and groupthink is where people go along with a really bad decision because of group pressure. And here the group pressure, I believe, stemmed from a shared positive identity at Penn State surrounding football. And so the president of the university, the head coach of the football team, all of whom from reports knew about Jerry Sandusky, did nothing to turn him in because they wanted to protect the image of the university, and that was more important than protecting the children that Jerry Sandusky was victimizing. And so we can see that group pressure can be very powerful, and a positive image that leaders often try and create for the groups that they lead can be something that they find more precious than the welfare of people associated with that group. The second point I make in the article is that there was a romance of leadership. Now, romance of leadership is a theory that states that followers tend to give too much credit for the success of groups to leaders, and also attribute too much blame to leaders for when groups fail. And here we clearly had a romanticized leader in Joe Paterno. He had been the coach of Penn State University for decades. He was idolized, and I think there was such deference to him that people made him a more powerful leader than even the president of the university who he reported to. Now, beyond what other people thought, I think Joe Paterno bought into this romanticized vision of himself, and it caused him to have a distorted decision-making process. And here I think this romance of leadership is associated with a third point that I make, is that there was a lack of authentic leadership. And one aspect of authentic leadership that some people talk about is having a balanced identity. Now, Joe Paterno was a community leader. He was a leader in his place of worship. He was a grandfather, and he was also head coach of the Penn State football team. Now, you would think that all of those things would inform him on how to react to the knowledge that Jerry Sandusky was sexually abusing children. Okay? And he would think, oh, how should I act? And that he would have turned Jerry Sandusky in. But his image of himself as the indispensable leader of Penn State and Penn State football, I think caused him to not have a balanced perspective and to react in the right way, and that this failure to act was mirrored by other people who were in a position of power and who had responsibilities in their role to react. So I think, although it's a very tragic case, it is something that we should examine, and it's important to examine when we have these ethical breakdowns of leadership. I have attached the article to this post. It's not a long article. I think you'd find it interesting to read, and so please take the time to look at it, and if you have any questions about the article or anything in class, please don't hesitate to contact me. Okay, I hope you're having a great week. See you later.